Afternoon, gentlemen. Here we are for the second tutorial about sewing a button on a shirt. Mr. Doyle is going to be our guru, expert here this afternoon. Nathan, what's a shirt worth roughly?
Oh, I think $35.
Yeah,
35 to 40.
So it's really important that we acknowledge the expense of the shirt, and we do whatever we can to make sure that it's in best condition. Being boys, ovals and running around, sometimes some things do fall apart, being buttons, and Mr. Doyle, the guru in all this, has the precision of a surgeon. Will show you how to go about putting a button back on a shirt.
Alright boys, what you need to do first is obviously have a needle and thread. Obviously you need to get a fair length of your thread, so making sure, because what you need to do, once you thread it through the needle, you need to make sure you double it back over so it's in half. So you go back over, and that's when you tie it off. So here's one I've prepared a little bit earlier. So what I've done is put the string through the eyelet, and I've doubled it down. I've evened out the lengths down at the bottom of the thread. And now what I've also done previously is I've put in 2 knots in the thread. The reason why you do that is so that the thread doesn't pull through when you actually are doing the button up. So what you need to do first and foremost, and don't do it too tight, boys, otherwise you won't be able to have any movement in your button. So what you need to do is place your button where it come from. Okay, so what I'll need to do is, obviously that's where the threads come through there before. So I'll place the button. The first thing I do though is to start, so my button lines up, is to go through my thread. I'll just pick him up, he's stuck to the table. Is obviously just feed it through the shirt, and you can see it poking through the shirt there. So what you need to do is just line up with one of those buttons holes. So if you've got a button hole there, and obviously pull it through, but don't pull it in through too tight. So I'm just tugging it so it's catching there, boys. So now what I need to do is obviously go back through the opposite hole, so the one on the diagonal. So I'll thread it back through there, and what you do is you put, I'll get it through the hole there, is you put it back through where the thread's coming through. So therefore that will hold that button in place. So I've pulled it through, therefore my button is now held in place. And now what I do now is feed it back through that hole again, and I do the opposite diagonal. So now I've got the opposite diagonal, and I feed it through there, pull it nice and through, and I thread it back through the other diagonal again. So you just keep doing that, boys, until the button's there, held in place. So you can see it's starting to get held in place there, so the button's got a little bit of movement in it. Okay, so you just keep doing that back and forth. Now to tie it off, boys, is what you do, or what I've done in the past, is you actually thread it back through underneath where your strings have come through, and then what you do is you pull it through and it'll tighten it back on itself. Okay, you do that 1 or 2 times, and then you snip it off and you're ready to go. Your button's ready to back on, and you're ready to rock and roll again at lunchtimes.
No doubt about you, Mr. Doyle. You're an absolute legend. Okay, thanks very much, everybody.